This lad commented on my last video asking me to destroy AEW, and I can clearly see why. AEW isn't sports entertainment, it's wrestling. Where is the cringy dialogue, the shit ring names, the shit wrestling gear, the Logan Paul appearances, the voodoo dolls, the 3-hour weekly TV shows, the wasted potential, the athletes from other sports that nobody cares about, repetitive championship contender matches, Saudi Arabia shows, old age pensioners and main events, the 50 billion camera cuts a second? It's just not the same. AEW are trying to kill the sports entertainment that we know and love. So I think it's time we went back and yet again hashtag stand up for WWE. We're hopping on TEW 2020, and instead of making a new promotion, I'm going to take over AEW myself and see how quickly I can put them out of business. Right, we're going to play as the owner so I can't get sacked. This is the company. This is the character we're going to use. It's a match made in heaven, really. So the first thing we have to do is to make basically a load of business decisions before we get into booking the shows. For example, this commentary team. This commentary team is excellent, particularly Tony Schiavone. He's an absolute legend. So I think we're better off changing it. It says here that our backstage rules are having a negative effect on morale, and I don't really know why. I've told them they can drink, they can smoke, they can even do drugs, so I don't really know what more they want. All our tickets to every show from here on out are free. Yes, we won't get any ticket revenue from it, but everyone will think I'm very cool, so there is that. I'm also going to invest in bands, celebrities, and special sets, just to bump up the costs. I noticed that NWA still have all the money I gave them in the last video. I've also noticed that in this game, you've got your own Hall of Fame, and you can induct anybody you want without even asking. So I've inducted Max the Impaler into the AEW Hall of Fame, just because I think they're really cool. Here we've got production values, and currently we've got a professional setup, which means loads of different cameras and screens and whatever else. I'm going to downgrade it to limited, which means basic video editing for $150 a month. Honestly, I don't see what's wrong with that. I don't see what's wrong with All Out being edited on Windows Movie Maker. Currently, they have a team full of people who help the fans get to their seats. We're going to get rid of all those. I think the fans should be fighting to the death over their chosen seats. Our broadcast quality is, again, currently quite good. A very professional setup. We're going to downgrade that to amateur. I'm really hoping that it's just some lad recording it now on his 2005 Nokia with no explanation given as to why nobody can see any of the wrestlers because it's just pixels everywhere. Currently, the music is in-house, which means they're paying 10 grand a month for some professional to make knockoff versions of professional songs. I personally prefer small time, which means we don't have to pay anything. We can just play any song we want, but it's illegal and we might get sued. I love this because it's just the idea of playing Spotify off somebody's phone over the speakers, and they might not even have Spotify Premium.
There are 30 million songs on Spotify. 30 million songs.
So the parts that you see in red are where another promotion has better production values than we do. So quite a few. I think it's time to form an alliance, and this right here is an alliance that I want to join. AEW in the WWE universe. Oh, what? Okay, I guess that's off the table. But there's still plenty of ways that we can pour money out of this company, right? We can invest in a developmental company, AEW 2, that costs $5 million. We can invest in a new training facility, the AEW Dojo, that costs about $1 million. We can launch our own broadcaster, the AEW Network, that costs a bit of money. We can purchase a classic title belt. We're going to purchase the Evolve Championship for no reason. We can create a new venue, Wardlow World. I like the sound of that. And now we have $8 available. So it's all working out. Okay, so backstage at All Out, Chavo and Vicky Guerrero both decided to beat the shit out of Alex Marvez. And I don't condone attacking your co-workers ever. It's not a very nice thing to do, but there is something kind of funny about that, so I'm not going to fire them. So now it's time for All Out, and I'm recording this on Sunday morning, so I don't know how the actual All Out went in real life, but I'm going to assume that mine is way better. We start off with the Casino Battle Royal, and the winner of this Casino Battle Royal is going to be Cameron, the person who once pinned somebody upside down, which I don't think gets enough respect for how she changed the game, so she's going to win the Battle Royal. John Moxley takes on Kojima, except I couldn't find Kojima anywhere in the list of names to put in the match, so I was going to have Kojima win this match in a minute. Instead, we're going to have Kip Sabian win in a minute. Paul White versus QT Marshall. I was going to have QT Marshall knock out Paul White in a minute, but again, couldn't find Paul White anywhere, so we put in Pac instead. Pac, for some reason, is very unhappy at this. I don't really know why. He's putting over an extremely talented young wrestler, but that's, I suppose, just a bit of selfishness on his part, maybe. MJF versus Chris Jericho, the final fight. If Jericho loses, he has to retire. So basically, Jericho whips out an Uno reverse card, meaning that MJF will now have to retire if he loses. and Jericho beats him. Miro takes on Eddie Kingston and beats him so fucking badly. He's an absolute mess, and that'll all make sense the following week. Then there's a steel cage match, of course, between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. Basically, we make this match as boring as humanly possible. 40 minutes of chin locks and headlocks and whatever else. Also, for some reason, I couldn't find Phoenix, so we've replaced him with 5. Then we get to the women's title match, and we have demoted DMD Britt Baker to being an actual doctor as part of the medical team for cost-cutting measures. So instead, we replaced her in the ring with Rebel, and Rebel goes on to beat Chris Statlander to become the new champion. Then we get CM Punk versus Darby Allin, and all of a sudden, Daniel Bryan comes out and Darby Allin gets fired, and the match is now Punk versus Bryan. Except I couldn't find CM Punk or Daniel Bryan on the list. I think the data's outdated, so we've gone with Brian Pillman Jr. versus Cesar Bononi instead. I've also decided to make this match a 1v1 caged Inferno match. A match where wrestlers have to set their opponent on fire inside a cage. Ah yes, my favourite. I've never seen a caged Inferno match before, but I'm going to assume it's really good. Unfortunately, the broadcaster won't allow us to put this match on, so instead we're going to just have them fight on a campsite. Then it's time for the main event, AEW World title on the line. Christian wins, then he does a Medusa on it and puts the AEW title in the bin, declaring the Impact World title as the new world title. So here's how the show was received. The opener got a 5 out of 100, and I feel like this is kind of the tone that is set for the rest of the show. The tag match actually did quite well, although apparently 5 was the weak link. Rebel versus Chris Statlander got a 0. Brian Pillman versus Cesar Bononi got a 0. Apparently 1 versus 1 campsite is actually a cinematic match, which according to this it didn't really work out, probably because the cameraman is recording on a 2005 Nokia, but we gave it our best. Christian Cage apparently got injured in the main event, and the show overall got a 6. It was also attended by 862 people, but now it's time for me to make my post-show speech, and in the post-show speech we're going to give Arn Anderson a hug, and he seemed pleased with the post-match speech. A couple of our broadcasters weren't too happy with that show. Holy shit. I've never actually seen that many unhappy emails before. But to cheer them up, we're going to give Cameron a new contract. Mel has turned up late for AEW Dark. Mel, I'm fucking sick of it. Christian Cage opens the show and says that nobody's allowed to challenge for his Impact World title unless they are a TNA alumni. Then BT Gunn comes out and challenges QT Marshall for a match on Dynamite. Then Eddie Kingston comes out, and it turns out that he was beaten so badly that he now has a stuttering gimmick and he can't speak or cut any of his really good promos, because again, we're trying to remove everything good from AEW and put it out of business. Kenny Omega then takes on the Blade and loses, and then the Elite kick him out, and that's basically how we end AEW Dark. For some reason, Billy Gunn challenging QT Marshall, Nyla Rose is there too because she's the interviewer, and well, that did really well, apparently. The Eddie Kingston stuttering segment, not so much. And the main angle, which is the Elite kicking out Kenny Omega, that didn't do really that well because apparently there wasn't enough star power in the segment. So Billy Gunn wrestles QT Marshall for an hour on Dynamite, and QT Marshall wins. Then Quality Television Marshall himself turns around and makes a challenge to Miro for the TNT title. Then he faces Miro for the TNT title and wins in a minute. Then the two sons in the Gun Club take on the team of Kip Sabian and Malachi Black, who are now teaming because Malachi Black is a big gamer and that's his new character. Then in the main event, the new leader of the Elite, Brandon Cutler, beats Kenny Omega, or at least he was supposed to, but Kenny Omega blocked it with creative control. So instead it's going to be a handicap match where one of the Young Bucks pins him, but it's basically because of Brandon Cutler. And we're going to fire Kenny Omega because creative control is a pain in the arse. QT Marshall versus Miro got a 0. Probably because it raised the standards of wrestling so high that every match following it will be a disappointment, so we're better off just not having it. And the show got a 2. It was also attended by 231 people. AEW Dark got really positive feedback, and I'm not going to lie, when I try and play this game and do well, I have never once seen that screen in my life. That's more like what I'm used to seeing. JD Drake brought some friends backstage. He's fired, no friends allowed. And we are now just under $2 million in debt. But I've decided to cancel AEW Dark this week. I think what's more important is that we have an open forum. So what this basically means is that anybody who's unhappy with the way things are being run and the direction of the company, they can stand up, say their piece, and we can hear them out. I doubt there's too many wrestlers that are even going to speak up, to be honest, because there's probably not that many who are too annoyed with how I've booked things so far. So let's begin. Cameron has spoken up about her issues. I'm a bit shocked by that. I didn't think Cameron, of all people, would be really unhappy with the way things are going. But I am happy with the fact that the numbers of people speaking up about their issues are quite low. People seem quite happy about this. It really is just Cameron and Paul White, Mark Henry, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Tony Khan, Alex Marvez, Aubrey Edwards, Billy Gunn, Bryce Remsburg, The Bunny, Chris Jericho, Christopher Daniels, Darby Allin, Earl Hebner, Hikaru Shida, Kip Sabian, Leva Bates, MJF, Nyla Rose, Pac, Paul Turner, Penelope Ford, Penta, John Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Brandon Cutler, Emi Sakura, Tully Blanchard, Reba, Ortiz, Arn Anderson, Wardlow, QT Marshall, The Butcher, The Blade, Chris Statlander, Austin Gunn, Colt Cabana, Luther, Jake Roberts, 5, Abaddon, Vicky Guerrero, Eddie Kingston, Mike Chioda, Mike Posey, Miro, Serena Deeb, Colton Gunn, Sting, Don Callis, Jay Cargill, Brian Pillman Jr., Cesar Bononi, Danny Jordan, Kylan King, Andrade, and Malachi Black. So really, there isn't too many people that are unhappy with the way things are running. I'm actually quite happy with that. Last week, Dynamite got a 2 rating and it was attended by 231 people. Let's try and top that. The first hour, QT Marshall defends his TNT title against The Blade. The second hour, Cameron wins the AEW Women's title off Rebel. Those matches are both an hour long. The main event happened. We did get an email though telling us that our music was fine, so that's pretty good. Oh no, sorry, we got fined. We got fined $100,000. The NWA still have pretty strange names for their tag teams. That's good to see. Why would you call any tag team that? Christian Cage is set to be back in 34 days. I feel like there's an option here that says there's a low risk surgery we can use to perform, where if it goes right, he'll be back even sooner. I think we might as well take the risk. Okay, they fucked it up and now he's not back for 3 months. The workhorse that is QT Marshall is defending his title against Cash Wheeler on AEW Dark. It wasn't meant to take the full hour, but the QT Pies will be happy to see that QT Marshall is wrestling for the full hour, because Bear Country were meant to take on the Young Bucks and beat them for the titles, but Nick Jackson got in the way with his creative control, so we weren't allowed to have that match. So for Dynamite, we open with another really long QT Marshall match. He defends the title against Chris Jericho. Then Cody Rhodes returns and cuts another really long, impassionate speech. And then he beats Aleister Black in 1 minute. And then Cameron, she defends her title against Hikaru Shida in 1 minute. And the show got a 10, which is better than what I usually get, again, when I try my best. AEW Dynamite has been dropped. We're firing Matt Jackson. Cody Rhodes is asking us to not fire Matt Jackson. Hangman Adam Page, he's begging us to not fire Matt Jackson. And his brother Nick is also asking us to not fire Matt Jackson, but I'm sorry, he's fired. Then we fire Nick Jackson and Cody Rhodes again, begging us to not fire him. Hangman Adam Page politely asking us to not fire him. Wardlow's ecstatic. He's over the moon and I've absolutely no idea why. I think now would be a good time to pull a rib though, you know what I mean? Lift the mood a bit. I feel like John Moxley's the sort of person who'd think that I'm a good laugh, you know what I mean? If I was to pull a rib on him right now, I think he'd find it really funny, so we're going to do that. And he has found it funny. He has. He's going to stab me. So AEW Dark this week is going to be a local talent showcase. Adrian Alanis, or Adrian Al-Anis, more like. Comedy gold on this channel. Honestly, you are spoiled. Versus Al Snow. And Auntie Levine from Tough Enough fame versus AR Fox. That is AEW Dark. For Dynamite, I was just going to have Cody Rhodes do more impassionate, over-the-top speeches for 2 hours, but it made us put on one match, so we're going to have a short QT Marshall match just to end off the show. And for some reason, this show did quite well, getting a 9 overall. Honestly, I don't know what more I can do to put AEW out of business. They are $42 million in debt. So we're just going to put an end to it here. I don't think AEW can ever go out of business. But at least at the end of the day, we had...
There are 30 million songs on Spotify.